Welcome. This is Fusion Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua, and we are doing next week, tonight, week 4. That's right. This is the podcast that gets you a full week ahead of the competition, keeping you up on players to add, players to get ready for streaming next week, and just moves to make in trades, either adding or selling players due to schedules, whatever else that I think maybe they're going to break out. This is where we keep you a step ahead and you get a lot of great value. So with that's it, we're going to get right into it. And tonight I'm also going to go right into this week's picks, and we're going to move the recap to the back because I want you guys to be able to hear these picks right off the bat without having to wait. All right, so here we go. Welcome to next week tonight. All right, so we're going to go with players to add ahead of week 3. So before these games are played and everyone else is now on to them, you can add these guys. I already said this guy, but I think with all the injury and everybody, he fell through the cracks. Jordan Akins. He did it again, though. He still was used. He still put up points. And if Fuller is definitely out still, he will continue to be. He's a great tight end if you really need one. Michael Pittman, he's the guy with Paris Campbell out. T.Y. Hilton isn't working. Peanut butter and mayonnaise. Phillip Rivers, T.Y. Hilton. It doesn't go together. Scott Miller, everyone's given up on him. Everyone mad at him because he was the big fancy streaming pick for last week, and then it didn't work. But easily could have had a big game, 2 touchdowns, that kind of thing. I don't think he's dependent upon one of the other 2 top receivers, Evans or Godwin, also being out or limited. I think he can still be something as the 3rd receiver, even when they're both in and healthy. Chase Edmonds, he should be owned. I put a wide range of ownership on here, whether it's a deep stash or whether it's a guy who like this, who really should always be owned in almost every league. Make sure he is, though. They have some really good matchups coming. We'll talk about that more in a little while. Everyone's up on this one already, too, because of all the injuries. Everyone's getting desperate and really digging in deep. So I've already heard KJ Hamler mentioned. So if he's being talked about now and he does anything this week, you can know for sure people are going to be making claims on him next Tuesday. Get him now. Damian Harris, he's on IR for the Patriots. If you need a deep stash, if you want someone to grab, you should already have, maybe if you have an IR spot, you should just grab him and stick him in there for free. But it's definitely a stash because we know Cam Newton is basically he's taking all the valuable touches at the goal line, the end zone, away from the other running backs. And so it's a hard ask to say you should get Damian Harris, but if you're in a deeper league, just be aware of when some of these players are coming off of their IRs, these short-term 3-week IRs. This is a fun one. Deontay Harris, I think he will start to get more involved in that offense because no one else seems to be cutting it. Even Traquan Smith, who I was down on. Recap, we'll get to that. Darnell Mooney, I don't know if it was just Anthony Miller dropping a really nice pass in the end zone, but Darnell Mooney had more snaps and more targets, more air yards than Anthony Miller. He could be the wide receiver 2. He definitely is the wide receiver 3. I realize the Bears passing game isn't something we usually talk about wanting, but again, this is a deeper league move. This is not a deeper league move. This is a guy who should be owned already, James Washington, but just double check. He's got a great matchup this week against Houston. That's why he should be owned. All right, we're getting on to streamers. These are players that you can pick up and play next week for week 4. If you want to, you can get them for free right here. This will come in big for you when we get to next week, week 5. That is, of course, next week tonight, week 5. That's what I do next week. The bye weeks are going to be start coming in and taking these players away, and the streamers are going to be even more important. Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you already had him last week because he was a streamer for me last week, you could just keep playing him against Seattle, who does give up points in the passing game. If you're really desperate, just grab whoever they say the starting Broncos quarterback is going to be, essentially, because they're playing the Jets. And I think I don't even Driscoll put up some points. Even Bortles could. I doubt it's going to be Bortles this week. Probably Driscoll, but just keep an eye on it. Tight ends. And for these streamers right now, I'm hitting a lot of onesie positions, not a lot of running back and wide receiver. Again, that'll change when we get into the bye weeks by necessity. Eric Ebron hasn't done a lot yet with the Steelers, but the Tennessee Titans seem to be giving up points. We'll keep an eye on that and see if it holds up for week 3. If it does, then this is a definite lock for me. But if you'd rather just go for the volume, Logan Thomas, Washington, playing the Ravens have a really good defense. But what happens sometimes then is the tight end gets hyper-focused because the receivers are getting open, the running back's getting shut down. What are you going to do? Throw short to the tight end, take advantage of a linebacker if you even can. All right, then we're going to have the Cardinals for the defense. They're playing the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers don't have Christian McCaffrey. I think they'll still be good. I love DJ Moore. I'm buying him. But I don't think that means... I think that means they could be vulnerable, is all I'm saying. You could have some turnovers. They're going to be pushing it in the passing game a little bit more, not being able to rely on McCaffrey. That's what I'm trying to say. They're going to be out of their comfort zone. All right. Trades, moves to make. Get rid of your David Montgomery. He's looked half decent, and so you might actually be able to sell him for something. That's all. Simple as that. Acquire Kendrick Drake. So they are playing this week. I believe they are playing. I've got this all mixed up, but it's a combination of the Lions. It's Lions this week, week 3, and then in week 4 they play the Panthers. So those are the two best matchups for running backs, giving up lots of points to running backs. So if Kendrick Drake can't do it versus the Lions and the Panthers, he's not doing it. At that point, that's where maybe Chase Edmonds' pickup comes into place. They might just start benching the guy, let alone, for your team, that's going to be a huge boon. But I think he could actually do okay. What we maybe didn't consider there was how Kyler Murray is taking away points from the running backs, something maybe we weren't considering, just like Cam Newton does from his running backs. But if it's ever going to happen, it's going to happen these next couple of weeks. You can always buy him cheap and then flip him when he has good weeks. That's what I would probably encourage, actually. I'm buying Joe Mixon because I'm sticking with the process. It's going to be a little iffy this week against the Eagles, but after that, I think they've got some good matchups. And I think as this offense improves, that he will improve. It'll come, guys. It will come. So you don't have to buy him necessarily before week 3 games, but just be ready because he may even have a bad week 3, so it might be even cheaper next week. But we try to keep a week ahead, right? N'Keal Harry. I know last week I was saying buying Julian Edelman. However, Edelman got lots of work. Maybe too much work because he's a little bit beat up. I don't think he's going to not play week 3. I think he is. But if he ever goes down, Harry is going to just dominate. He's already getting a lot of targets, and he will get so much more. And even if Edelman's healthy, he still can be productive. He can still develop more and do more. He's not really breaking any big runs or any big plays right now. He's just kind of catching it, falling over. But look, if he can start turning it on, then he could really be good for you. All right, that's it for week 4. Next week tonight. getting ready for the week 3 games and the week 4 games. I do now want to look back real quick at some of the results we had from the actual week 2 games. Bourne was working out. Greg Ward did not. I think Van Jefferson, Snell, I'm happy with all of these people. Some people are upset with Snell, but if you were paying attention, you knew Connor was back and playing. You don't need to. The nice thing about having Benny Snell is he's there ready to play when you know Connor is out. Don't try to play him when Connor is in. Of course, we had the Packer receivers. That might look good if Adams can't play. And I do like Higgins among the Bengals wide receivers. He definitely jumped up. Higgins, I should say, to recap here. I kind of skipped that. He played far more. John Ross was the most snaps and a pretty high air yard market share in week 1. That dropped out entirely. Higgins, when he came in and played week 2, now he took the most, and Ross went to the least. So Higgins is definitely the third guy. If AJ Green goes down, that could pay off big. Streamers, Garoppolo, he was okay. He actually got you points before he had to leave. You wish he could have stuck around and gotten more. Goff was actually really good. Trubisky, again, it was points. Greg Olsen, one of the worst ones I've ever had. Big ol' 0. I apologize. I'm sorry. Bears versus Giants. If you could get the Bears, they got you some points. All right. Browns versus Bengals. It wasn't negative, but it wasn't great. It was like 6 points or something from the Browns. So I crossed it off on myself there. I'll be fair. Trades. So I was saying Christian Kirk, Jonnu Smith, those have obviously paid off. Now, these were the players I was saying pick up before last week. P. Ryan, Aikens again, Russell Gage, and Ayuk. Look, Gage, huge payoff. I really hope you got him on all your teams. I tried to get him everywhere as soon as I could last week. And I wasn't high enough going into the season. I guess I should have been. I don't know. Trades. This list is fantastic, guys. I cannot be more proud of it. Here it comes. We've got Leonard Fournette. Boom. Then, of course, Preston Williams didn't do quite as well on Thursday night as I had hoped, but Edelman did this past week. I think that'll keep up. Austin Eckler, people had all these fears about, it's going to be terrible. He was fine, like 25 points. Gibson, some people are getting impatient with him. Go get him. It's coming along. It's getting better every single week. Every week you wait to try and trade for him, his price is going up. Cash in on Traquan Smith. I wasn't buying it. He got you some points, fair enough, but not nearly what some people were hoping or seeming to saying that he was going to have a big game with Thomas out. And finally, sell T.Y. Hilton because I'm not doing it. Campbell didn't work out, but it's hard to predict a helmet to the knee. Ryan Fitzpatrick versus Jacksonville. We saw here tonight. I'm recording Thursday night. He did great. So congratulations. Phillip Rivers to playing the Jets. Same idea. I'm sure he'll be fine. Breida didn't do much against Jacksonville, so I should cross that one out. James Washington playing against the Texans. Plus, Juju maybe be beat up a little bit, so that's even better for him. But they can give up some big plays to James Washington either way. Irv Smith playing the Titans. Titans seem to be giving up points to tight end. We'll see if that's a real trend or not, because that'll affect the streamers I had, of course, for week 4. Jimmy Graham versus Atlanta. You just want him to catch a touchdown. But in any game involving Atlanta, I promise you, there's going to be a lot of offense. And Washington's playing the Browns. If you had the Browns from last week's streaming, just keep them and play them against Washington. But you can probably go out and pick up Washington if you've got nobody else or you don't like their matchup. Playing against the Browns, it's just kind of thing where the Washington is really good at shutting down the run. So if the Browns can't get Chubb and Hunt going like they could versus the Bengals, they're going to have to throw it more. And that's when Baker looks bad, when he doesn't have a running game that's establishing uh, itself. And then Baker, that frees Baker up to throw more successfully. I don't see that happening in this game, unfortunately, for all my Chubb shares, as much as I'd love it. But that's going to mean Baker's going to be forced to throw it more, and that could result in points for the defense that's playing him. That's it, guys. No, it's not. We did this already. Why do I have it in there twice? All right. Thanks for joining me, guys. Check out the podcast. I really dig into things a little bit more. I try to make these ones as quick as I can. The podcast is probably about twice as long. Also, it's a 100th episode for the podcast, so if you happen to be watching this instead of listening, check that out. Give me a follow on Twitter at FusionFFB. Ask me any questions. DMs are open. If you're listening to the podcast and here on YouTube, be sure, wherever you are, subscribe and like it. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next week when we do next week tonight, week 5. Be sure to show up. You're going to have to be ready for all these bye weeks that are coming up. All right. See you then.